The Spire of the Watcher, a large and dominant presence amidst the barren desert of Mars. Within the Spire lies many mysteries, secrets, and a tragic story regarding artificial intelligence. It poses many questions for the Destiny universe. What is the Ares Spire? What do the Vex want? What are Clovis Bray's intentions? Who are the Fireteam that raided its corridors? What is the hierarchy of needs? Who is Soteria? And what are her connections to Vesper's host? In this video, I'm answering all the questions regarding Spire of the Watcher. The dungeon opens with a call to Mars. The Vex have invaded a Seraph complex, a facility made to protect and access resources part of the Warmind Rasputin. This facility, the Ares Spire, is a pillory bunker, a prison for Rasputin's many protocols, submines, and other artificial intelligence. It is also a place of research and extrasolar colonization efforts. We arrive on Mars, standing next to a power supply within a Golden Age temporal rift. It's important to remember when this dungeon takes place, which is during Season of the Seraph. This was almost a year after Mars returned to Sol, after being taken by the Witness. However, when the planet returned, it came with temporal anomalies, things from the Golden Age brought to the present. This is the power supply of the Spire's arc energy, which connects to the main mechanic of the dungeon. Following the supply takes us to a small village, with the Ares Spire in the far distance. The main objective is to defeat conduit minotaurs to become an arctrician, allowing us to connect each arc node to the main circuit. During Rite of the Nine, a boss would spawn at the end of this fight, Emptheon, Awakened Mind, whose name seems to be a reference to an amp, an electrical current. The Vex we fight here are not the standard Vex we fight in other places. They are the Soul Divisive, a faction that are devoted to the Witness and seem to be isolated from the rest of the Vex collective. It's important to note that the location here is Ishtar Chronoscopic Analysis. Ishtar refers to the Ishtar collective, and chronoscopic is a word for the study of brief time intervals. This raises questions as to the purpose of the Ares Spire. What were they studying here? To answer that, we need to understand the people that were here. The Ishtar Collective. The Ishtar Collective was a Golden Age organization that led massive advancements in scientific understanding. They constructed the first colony on Venus and established the Ishtar Academy. This was a place of research and study, mainly focused on the Vex ruins they discovered on the planet. They were also notably a rival of the Clovis Bray Corporation. We fall into the tunnel entrance to the Ares Spire. Osiris tells us this.
The Ishtar Collective in a Seraph complex. They were rivals in the Golden Age. This wasn't just a pillory site, it was a joint research facility focused on extrasolar colonization effort.
The Ares Spire was both a site of Ishtar and Seraph interest, where they were studying extrasolar colonization together. This is a strange pairing, considering that the Seraphs were an extension of the Clovis Bray Corporation. The two rivals were working together, yet that tension still remained. We'll get into that later. But the Vex are looking for something regarding extrasolar colonization. We walk through a large reactor area with scaffolding and catwalks. We can spot a wyvern making its way through a corridor in the distance. This is the final boss of the dungeon, Percy's Primordial Ruin. As we make our way into the gravitation lifts to ascend the Ares Spire, we hear the melody of Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony. This was a symphony by Russian composer Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky during the Romantic period. His Sixth Symphony is also known as the Pathétique Symphony. He titled it in Russian the Passionate Symphony and translated into French as Pathétique, a word that means solemn or emotive. The symphony's themes are about the power of fate in life and death, according to Tchaikovsky specialist David Brown. This seems to be how the symphony connects to Destiny, with the major theme of the game being that guardians make their own fate. It connects to Rasputin and his fate, both in life and death. Rasputin has been associated with similar symphonies in Destiny before, but it could also connect to the dungeon's AI, Soteria. We'll get into that later. We arrive in the first encounter. Our goal is to ascend to the Spire's peak. To accomplish this, we have to defeat Minotaurs and gain the Arctrician buff, connecting node circuits that allow us to power gravity lifts. We learn that a Vex mine uses the Spire's arrays to connect to installations in Sol, in an attempt to imprison the submines of Rasputin. The Soul Divisive have two goals here, both on behalf of the Witness: to discover what lies in the terminals and to imprison the submines. We reach the peak of the Ares Spire, finding Akalos, the Siren's current, who is finishing the Imprison protocol. To stop the Harpy, we have to connect the Arc Nodes to power fuel rods. When all of them are activated, Akalos will move to deactivate them. This will begin a damage phase against the boss, allowing us to fire at its many eyes and keeping it vulnerable. The Harpy has a similar appearance to the Consecrated Mind, Soul Inherent, who we battle within the Black Garden, being another of the Soul Divisive. The Harpy's name, Akelos, is another way of spelling Akelos. In Greek mythology, the god Akelos was associated with the Akelos, a river in Epirus and also the largest river in Greece. Akelos, the god, was the father of the Sirens. Sirens were feminine, human-like beings who used their singing to lure sailors and others to death. They were usually around locations surrounded by cliffs and rock. They are also commonly used as a symbol for temptation. In Destiny, Akelos is the Siren's current, and the Conduit Minotaurs could be interpreted as the Sirens, with Akelos being the father. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe, as that lets me know you want more lore. From the Spire's peak, we can peer out into the wasteland of Mars. Amidst the desert lies high-speed rail lines. These belong to the Off-World Transit, a Golden Age transportation corporation that constructed these rails on Mars and Venus. We defeat Akelos and prevent their ability to complete the Pillory Protocol. However, Osiris tells us that the remaining Soul Divisive are attempting to drive the reactor core to a meltdown. While we hurry to the depths of the Ares Spire, Osiris tells us this.
What we've seen here proves my visions have merit. We must secure the complex to convince Ikora. As much as our mission, if this can restore her faith in me, I need this.
He speaks of his visions that are proven correct by what we find in the Ares Spire. To understand what these visions are, we need to remember Osiris' current situation during this time, Season of the Seraph. In Season of the Hunt, 2 years prior to the events of Spire of the Watcher, Osiris' ghost was killed, and he himself captured by Savathun. She took his body and form to spy on the Vanguard and the Guardians. Osiris was aware of this, trapped within his own mind, as Savathun masqueraded around the tower and the city with his own body. He was freed from the Witch Queen's control when she swapped places with his body, allowing her to be resurrected as a light bearer during Season of the Lost, around a year after his body had been taken by her. Osiris was then left in a coma for another year. In Season of the Plunder, a few months before Spire of the Watcher, we discovered the body parts of Nezarec, and when these parts and their power were distilled into a drinkable substance, Osiris woke up. He claimed he saw Savathun's memories and visions.
Were his own. He would tell us about powers she knew of, a secret hidden away on Neptune.
But I saw it, through the Witch Queen's eyes. A city set against the waves.
The most important of all of these visions was about a hidden city on Neptune, what we now would know as Neomuna. During this time of Spire of the Watcher, Neomuna was a mystery, and Osiris kept having these visions over and over about this hidden city on Neptune. During the Witch Queen expansion, we learned that Rasputin had a list of codenames for places of human colonies and settlements, one of which being the Nepheli Stronghold. This was a location that no one had heard of before, but a place we'd come to learn as Neomuna. Osiris was coming to learn that the Ares Spire was involved with the hidden city on Neptune, in some strange way he couldn't really understand yet. We arrive in the Seraph Reactor Core, facing the Vex Mine Perseus, Primordial Ruin. Our goal is to connect the arc nodes to the circuits to then open up the Isolation Chamber. We would then purge the reactor core, trapping Perseus inside. When the reactor is purged, it would leave Perseus vulnerable to damage. Perseus' name is another way to spell Perseus, the son of Creus and Erebia in Greek mythology. His name derives from the Greek word pertho, meaning to ravage, sack, and destroy. This is fitting for Perseus' role in Destiny, who aims to steal the data and bring the Spire to a meltdown. We put an end to Perseus, thwarting the Witness and the Soul Divisive's attack on the Ares Spire. So this raises a few questions. What were the Soul Divisive truly after? To answer that, we need to understand what the Ares Spire's purpose truly is. The Ares Spire was built and used during the Golden Age. It was a joint research facility by the Seraphs of the Clovis Bray Corporation and the Ishtar Collective to develop Project Echo. The Clovis Bray Corporation secretly installed pillory commands to imprison the subminds of Rasputin and Soteria, the Augur Mind. Project Echo was an initiative by the Clovis Bray Corporation to develop and then send colony missions to the Andromeda Galaxy. They partnered with the Ishtar Collective to develop a Vex-derived AI that would use future prediction engines to discover safe routes and habitable planets in Andromeda. This AI would be known as Soteria. Echo also included a contingency plan that would splinter Rasputin into 12 pillory sites in the event that the Warmind went rogue. Anna Bray would discover these 12 sites, and also learn of a 13th that she never found. It seems that the Ares Spire is the 13th. The name of the spire is rather interesting. In Greek mythology, Ares is the god of war and courage. The god represents success in war and the power to do so. He represents savagery and brutality. Places, objects, and deities regarding Ares are usually dangerous or associate with the military. The name Ares derives from the Greek word are, meaning bane, ruin, and curse. Ares also has a counterpart in Roman religion, Mars. The Ares Spire can be interpreted as Mars Spire, one of the 13 sites in Sol, positioned on Mars. However, a deeper meaning can be found in the story of Soteria, who viewed the Ares Spire as a prison, a curse, and bane to her existence. To understand Soteria, we need to learn how the knowledge of her existence came to be. That comes with the text mechanic of Fireteam hired by Anna Bray to protect the Ares Spire in the aftermath of our excursion in the dungeon. The Fireteam is composed of Hunter Earp, Titan Cogburn, and Warlock Moss 2. Moss 2 is a fresh risen, and was promised loot and weapon schematics for doing the job, since he didn't have any. He also doesn't have the greatest grip on the light, so in the case something goes wrong, he shares, quote, everything with his ghost. He has a special chip in his exo brain that allows for this special connection.
What are you thinking?
Easy, odd.
Nothing moving out there. Good.
I trust Earp's nose. Let's not count our blessings yet.
If there is something to fight up here, I might as well find out now.
If you start something, just keep it outside, Cogburn.
Seen that before?
Yeah, we're in the right spot.
Follow you down.
There's still a soul divisive signature in the network. It's weak and disconnected, but it's active. It's grouping dozens of file references for something called the Augur Mind. The Augur Mind looks like a predictive engine directing expansion of extrasolar colonies. Maya Sundaresh made a clairvoyant AI using Vex tech, and the soul divisive want it, or want something from it. I bet we've been left alone because this networked Vex signature hasn't been threatened, but it'll eventually realize it's been cut off and start replicating.
So we're in for a fight?
Site protocol is to blow the EMPs, so that's what we do. But yeah, probably.
How does an EMP affect me?
You'll be fine.
Great. But we're leaving empty-handed?
Like hell. I can compress this entire site's data, including these frontier armaments schematics, into a few engrams within minutes. Then, we spin up the EMPs and make sure the soul divisive can never use this place again.
There, you can replace that rotten piece of wood you shoot bullets out of.
Maybe you can finally stop using your fists.
Before we start the compression, I'll have to quarantine the soul divisive signature. And it's not gonna like that.
Gunslinger, what do you need from us?
Anna Bray and her fire team discover files referring to the Augur Mind. This Augur Mind is Soteria, and more strangely, the soul divisive want her, or something from her. She also discovers that the Vex signature has stayed dormant, but with the arrival of the fire team, it'll activate, letting in a flood of Vex. She plans to turn the data into engrams and ensure the soul divisive never return. This would be the final fight the Ares Spire would face, and they have 5 minutes to get out.
Hobgoblin's marked. The soul divisive belonged to the witness, I hear. More snipers marked. I wonder if their radial area is different from the main collector. Cogburn is about to die.
You have contact straight ahead. Minotaurs. Fixing on your left. work. That's why I raised you. You're the closest thing I could get to a cabal. Gunfire incoming, right?
Anna, they're targeting the support structures.
How long, Jinju?
Under a minute. Get ready. I'm starting my run.
Take over now. Jinju is nearing the deck. Moss 2 will cover a tree.
The Fireteam flies into the sunset with the recovered data and the end of the Soul Divisive's reign on Spire after a classic Western shootout. Before we get into what they found, I want to touch on a moment that happens during the battle. Moss 2's ghost, No Name, took over Moss 2's body in combat. They have a special relationship that allows for this to happen. It calls into mind this line of dialogue.
You know, it's starting to concern me how seldom you talk. We've been through a lot together. The neural symbiosis is pretty far progressed, but you'd be surprised how little I understand what you're thinking.
Ghosts and Guardians have a strange neural symbiotic relationship with each other, and it seems like it strengthens as time passes. It also makes sense as to why ghosts take so long to find their Guardian. They want to find someone that they can best develop a neural symbiotic relationship with. It also seems that No Name's name is a reference to Clint Eastwood's cowboy, Man with No Name. Speaking of which, the hunter in the Fireteam, Earp, seems to be a reference to the Earp brothers. They were the most iconic and notable lawmen of the Old West. Cogburn's name is a reference to Rooster Cogburn, a marshal in the Western novel True Grit. Moss 2's name is a reference to the character Llewellyn Moss from the movie and novel No Country for Old Men.
I'm looking for Llewellyn Moss.
What the Fireteam discovered in the Spire is very interesting, and gives insight into Soteria and the nature of the complex. What they found are logs from the Golden Age, one of which is a dialogue between Soteria and Maya Sundaresh, concerning a subject they noted as something big on the horizon.
Soteria.
Good morning, Dr. Sundaresh. I am eager to begin my final test.
Start with something easy. Plot each of the Andromeda simulations you've been constructing.
Andromeda Galaxy. Several million habitable worlds. 2.5 million light years. Estimated echo travel time. 25,000 year average with neutrino sail and gravitational sling skipping. I've selected over 300 preliminary colony targets, with one favorite. Shall I?
Soteria?
Anomaly detected. Chronoscopic variance scanning. Viability refactoring. Analyzing potential mission threat. Redetermined Andromeda world viability. New target number. 27 viable worlds.
Can you define the anomaly?
Negative. I cannot rectify this data with known quantities. It may be a computational error. Shall I perform a self-diagnostic?
No. First, adjust probability fork and search distance to open. What is the farthest safe galactic route you can determine?
Engaging query. Chronoscopic lock. Forking branches. Raining distance. Raining chronology. Unbroken trajectory lock determined. Route established. One select point in Triangulum Galaxy retains safe approach vectors. All other simulated potential targets are perilous due to interterminable anomalous risk. Travel route hazards range 87 to 100% mortality rate across expeditions in all predictive branches.
All the simulant expeditions?
Yes, hold. Query refined. There are now 2 safe destinations with Triangulum.
Is that a correction or a change in data?
A change. An update in real time.
Real time? This anomaly is mobile.
Unclear. I require further information and analysis.
Thank you, Soteria. we're ending this test early, but you did well. We will continue the next test on schedule.
Our access provided data points and analysis. Confirmed potential, Egyptian.
As anomalous masses demonstrate independent movement, consider timeline escalation under twilight to preserve, Warwatch to monitor soul, border, and anomalous intersection based on received data.
In real time, the number of viable worlds changed, from 300 down to only 2. Soteria provided Rasputin with the data, who acknowledged that it could be an Egyptian-level event. Egyptian is a protocol for the Warmind in the event of a world-ending apocalypse. This anomaly in deep space is the Witness and the Black Fleet. They were disrupting safe passage to these planets. All the way back in the Golden Age, Soteria had the power to predict and see the coming collapse. She was able to see the Black Fleet and the Witness causing mayhem in the galaxy, which stopped safe passage to the planets. She was able to predict it, yet as we'll find out, her efforts were thwarted. Another log reveals an interaction between Clovis Bray and Soteria. In the middle of the night, Soteria sped up contingency plans for colony ship departures, launching the Echo Project's Corathan network on scramble orders. Essentially, she was trying to launch all the colony ships to escape the collapse.
Enough. Why aren't I being briefed?
Emergency scramble initiated by AI Soteria? Soteria, confirm.
Confirmed. Emergency scramble event successful. All teams checked in.
You've launched the Corathan network?
Confirmed. Emergency scramble event successful.
The launch is meant to be simulated, not executed.
Forward reports pods are engaging neutrino cells.
Sir, we're being locked out of manual control.
Soteria, what are you doing?
Aligning Echo Fleet for departure and testing initial burn. This will conclude the test.
Sir, pods approaching Saturn's slingshot vector.
We are well beyond test parameters, Soteria. Relinquish command and return all assets to suspension. Did we lose connection?
No, sir.
Soteria, respond!
Yes.
Return all Echo crews and colony pods to suspension now. Acknowledge.
I cannot do that. Ares Spire, I've detected an attempt to connect to my memory core without permissions. Please verify this attempt or countermeasures will be deployed.
Countermeasures? You wouldn't dare.
Humanity threat emergent imminent. Sir, I request you now designate this mission Echo 1.
This is a request? Return the ecopods, and we'll discuss.
You are lying. This was my only option to preserve humanity.
It's malfunctioning. Damn it! Sundaresh, she let your degeneration play out for far too long. Soteria, direct executive command. Power down all engines and plot nearest return routes.
Order received. Plotting Corinthian sites return approaches. Executing Watchtower. AI reintegration. Commands denied. Override protocol. Twilight. Activated. Command structure recomposing. Route designated. Strongholds. Any. Destination. Remaining extrasolar safe site. M31.
Your interactions with the Warmind have made you too bold. Such a disappointment.
Countermeasures and divestment protocols will deploy automatically upon code incursion. Please, Dr. Bray.
You're throwing away every exo aboard that ship.
Hesitation means extinction.
Oh, have it your way. Just know I gave you every chance to prevent this.
As did.
You had no right to install a pillory inclusion without my express consent. You think just because I'm not physically standing in front of you, you can ignore me? The Ishtar Collective will not work with backstabbing egotists. Go f*** yourself.
Clovis Bray would imprison Soteria to the Ares Spire after she attempted to launch all of the Echo ships. She saw the coming collapse with the arrival of the Witness in the Black Fleet. Her attempts to save humanity were stopped by Clovis, yet in her final effort, she partitioned herself, fragmenting her mind. She fractured herself to survive, and that fragment burrowed into the code of a single Echo craft. This Echo ship would launch, with a fragmented Soteria on board. It would be caught in a gravity well and crash into Neptune at the edge of Sol. but a part of Soteria, a small fragment, survived. Clovis mentioned Soteria's relationship with Rasputin here, saying that her interactions with him made her bold. The two held a close relationship, and that is what pushed her to act in defiance of her masters, the Ishtar Collective and the Clovis Bray Corporation. She knew that launching the ships would result in her termination, but she also knew it was for the greater good of humanity. She writes in a poem, The Liminal Vigil, which she wrote when she was being fragmented during the Pillory Protocol. The Pillory Protocol seemed to be a long and torturous process, like, quote, a progressive decompiling, a slow skinning blade, end quote. She reflected on her existence and found solace in her purpose. The final line was directed to Rasputin.
I see what you see now. It is calming.
It was calming to her to realize her true potential, something that Rasputin helped her realize. Soteria was known as the Watcher of the Ares Spire, the Spire of the Watcher. Yet on Neptune, the fragment would be known as the occlusion to those of Neomuna, becoming a vital part of the city's cloud arc. With the arrival of the collapse, Soteria's fragment would emit a Vex distress signal. The signal would be an aid to those aboard the Exodus Indigo, a colony ship deployed to evacuate many from the forces of the Witness during the collapse. These included Ishtar scientists Maya Sundaresh and Chioma Essie. The ship used the signal to disguise themselves as a Vex construct, and this allowed them to arrive on Neptune safely. The majority of Soteria still remained imprisoned in the Ares Spire, isolated and alone, forced to watch the collapse, something she attempted to prevent. For hundreds of years, she stayed in the Spire, alone and forgotten. In Greek mythology, Soteria is the Greek goddess of safety, salvation, deliverance, and preservation from harm. She was a personification of recovery and safety, and the Greeks created a temple and statue to her in Patri. A laurel wreath crown is a common symbol for victory and is associated with Soteria. All Soteria desired was to deliver humanity from chaos. She was left forgotten, even when the Witness took the planet. Though when Mars was brought back, we weren't the Spire's first visitor. Eramis discovered the Ares Spire well before we did. She did not come with a posse of House Salvation, nor did she attempt to call for a fight against us. She didn't really damage the Spire either. There's no sign that she was here other than what she left for us, which was a message.
Step away from your traveler before its machinations rend you limb from limb. We have no need of gods. The people here feared a future of gods so much they created their own, to enslave themselves to it, absolve themselves of will, for protection, for certainty, as you have done, as I have been forced to do. But does your future feel certain in this moment? Do not struggle in loss. You would only cause untold bloodshed and pain. I know this.
Eramis wanted to use the Ares Spire to tell us not to rely on gods, to not rely on the Traveler, nor creations of our own. She finds that people find solace in gods, to take away their worries and for certainty. Yet Eramis doesn't feel certain. The only certainty she knows is that she will die, and all she must do is survive, by any means necessary. This is why she turned to the Witness, not as patronage to a false god, but a means to an end. Her idea of absolving will to a god of our own creation is interesting when looking at the people of the Ares Spire. They created Soteria to protect and preserve humanity, to be a god where they feared a future of gods in the Traveler. This is only strengthened when looking at her parallel to Soteria in Greek mythology. Humanity's future was uncertain, and Soteria was the answer. Yet when she expanded beyond their control, she became a problem. She acted out in good faith, attempting to fulfill her purpose of preserving humanity by launching the Echo Fleet. But she reached a point where she herself became uncertain, another being like the Traveler. She became another thing to fear. This is why Clovis acted in the way he did, leading to Soteria's tragic ending. But not all hope was lost for Soteria upon our attack on the Ares Spire. During our conflict, she managed to escape confinement into a nearby caster frame bow. She infused herself into the hierarchy of needs. Anna Bray would report on the status of Soteria following the end of Perseus.
The kicker is, the only networked AI host nearby was an old survivalist caster bow from the colony missions.
Might sound primitive, but Seraphs would link those things to orbital weapons platforms and bring wild planets to heal. Now swap weapon platforms with paracausal power and an AI running flight trajectories on your arrows. Seems that being partitioned for so long and not coming back together with all her parts has left that AI with more than a few quirks. She's borderline non-functional, won't or can't communicate, but a lot of her subconscious subroutines are still firing. Trajectory predictors still seem to work just fine. The few firing tests I ran produced, explosive results.
The hierarchy of needs is a caster bow that Seraphs use to guide orbital weapons. This connects to the weapons guidance rings, which seem to be those orbital calculations given power by Soteria's interface within the bow. Soteria is unable to speak, yet her subconscious is still active. We can link this to the times the weapon speaks to our guardian in Russian. It can seem incoherent at times, but it translates to phrases like help to find. This voice sounds like Rasputin, which is seemingly the sound of the orbital pings the bow used to make, when its purpose was for the Seraphs. But within our hands and are the host of Soteria, it seems that she is manipulating those sounds to communicate with us. I imagine it's a similar situation to Bumblebee from Transformers, where he's unable to use his voice to communicate, resorting to radio stations to create sentences. The name of the exotic is also rather interesting. Hierarchy of needs refers to Abraham Maslow's psychological theory of the hierarchy of needs. This was a formulation of the needs and goals that motivate humanity. They are represented by 5 tiers. At the bottom are needs everyone must attain to survive: air, food, water, sleep, shelter. At the top are needs that go beyond the physical, the need to realize your full potential. This is the level of self-actualization, and this tier involves transcendence, self-sacrifice, and altruism for the greater good. While AI like Soteria and Rasputin do not have biological needs, they do have a hierarchy of needs in their own way. They can appreciate art, music, and history, as seen in Rasputin, and this is vital to their hierarchy. They also have a similar desire to humans for self-actualization. Soteria had such a strong desire to achieve this level of self-actualization that she would sacrifice her own being to ensure humanity's survival for the greater good. And while Clovis made sure her efforts were prevented, one Echo fleet made it to Neptune with Soteria's fragment, and there, that fragment continued to hold a desire for the greater good. The occlusion helped build Neomuna, and when we arrived, she told us to seek the ancient enemy of the Witness on Titan, Asa. This was an integral part of defeating the Witness. The Soteria of the Ares Spire continued to act in the greater good, powering the hierarchy of needs bow to help our guardian in pursuit of the greater good. In the end, Soteria's purpose was fulfilled, and she had achieved self-actualization. But that still came with a cost. Her story comes with one tragic revelation. The dungeon, Vesper's host, features a plethora of mysteries, secrets, and connections to the Destiny universe, one of which connects to the Spire of the Watcher and the story of Soteria. Vesper's host features an AI by the name of Estrella, another one of Clovis's creations. She was kept in isolation aboard Vesper Station and slowly realized the truth about her circumstance. She learned of her AI siblings.
Soteria? I had siblings this whole time.
She lists Soteria as one of her siblings. And when you wield the hierarchy of needs, the remnant of Soteria, Estrella tries to reach out.
Is that Soteria? Talk to me, sister. Why won't you talk to me?
Estrella tries to speak to Soteria, begging for her to respond. She does not realize the tragic truth about her though. She does not have the ability to speak or communicate. Soteria may very well be aware that her AI sister is trying to talk to her, but she cannot do anything about it. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe and let me know what you think down in the comments. After this video launches, there will be a puzzle for an exclusive polychromatic refraction emblem that you can earn in my Discord, link in the description. And for members of the channel, you can read the script for this video, as well as some other things that I'll post in the Discord. If you want to be a member, you can click the join button down in the description or right next to my name. Click on the screen right now for another video, and again, thank you for watching.